Hi, I'm George Straighton, screenwriter of Hercules and Xena Warrior Princess, and you're listening to GenreTainment.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of GenreTainment over at sci-fi-pulse-radio.com. We're your hosts Marx
and Julie, and GenreTainment is where we talk about what's happening in the world of film, TV, and web series. This is where we give you interviews with writers, directors, producers, and actors in both independent and not-so-independent creations. Now for this episode, we are speaking with web series creators and game designers Javier Palenzuela and Ed Shannon.
And we discussed their web series Game Nights and their Kickstarter for the parody role-playing game Beasties and Bygones. These comedians and filmmakers talk about how they created a half live-action and half animated web series and their quest to make their fictional role-playing game into a reality.
Now before we start the interview, we want to point out that the music you just heard at the beginning of the show was a snippet from the theme song from our web series Reality on Demand. It was a song composed and performed by our friend T-Sean Hardy. You can find our web series at realityondemandseries.com.
Now, some of you already know I'm a member of the International Academy of Web Television Awards Committee. Mm-hmm. And if you like or are interested in web series, you should really check out the list of nominees that we've announced for 2015. They're all excellent shows. I'm sure you're going to find one that you'll enjoy.
At least one, probably more.
And you can check that out over at iewtv.org. One of the cool things about this year is that my publisher, Michael Weezy Publishing, is actually giving away copies of my book to the winners. Television on the Wild Wild Web, How to Blaze Your Own Trail. Very excited. I want to thank them for supporting the award show, which you can actually watch live streaming from Las Vegas on April 15th.
Tax day.
Yes, tax day. So just to relieve the pain of taxes.
Apparently.
You can check that out.
At least if you're a winner. Or you're partying in Vegas.
I also want to mention that, as many of you know, we have not been very good about numbering our episodes. Oops. But I think, this makes episode 71-ish.
Oh, sounds good to me.
Since our move to Sci-Fi Pulse Radio channel. We have more prior to that.
So it's the new math.
Yeah, the new math.
Okay.
So someday I'll backtrack and number them all and also see if we can get some of those pre-Sci-Fi Pulse Radio episodes up too. So something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And another thing to look forward to is our interview that's right now, which is with
Javier Palenzuela and Ed Shannon. Hi, Javier and Ed. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Hi. I'm glad to be here.
We first met you two a couple years back at Gen Con in Indianapolis when you were promoting, I think at the time, new web series.
Game Night.
Mm-hmm. And now we're talking with you both again about that show and also a new Kickstarter you have going on right now. So why don't we go ahead and start off with Game Nights, and can you fill in our audience a little bit on what that show's about?
Sure. Game Nights is basically kind of about gamers, and it's about our game night. So every episode, the gamers are sitting around the table, and there's sort of Kevin Smithy sort of banter going back and forth, and there's drama within their lives. But every week they get together and they play this parody of D&D called B&B, Beasties and Bygones, and it's kind of like South Park meets Dungeons and Dragons, So the game that they play, though they take it very seriously, the actual story world that they play in is very satirical, and so a lot of madcap stuff happens and all this stuff. But the way we represent it on the show Game Night is we use animation, so it's 2D animation and half cartoon, half live action. So to represent, a lot of, web series are using, live action to represent the characters in the story, whether in the woods or trees or other places, and that's great, but there's a limit there. We wanted to just, with animation, allows us to really, it's about escape. These people are playing this game to escape their mundane lives or issues in their lives, and there's something missing in their lives. So in the game, they get to live out something that's missing, whether it's, romance, or control because their parents are getting a divorce or whatever it is in their life. But it's very satirical, and we've been doing it now for a while, and the animation takes a while. But Gen Con has been sort of our staple for promotion, and it's very cool to go show our stuff there every year. But Game Nights is the first episode 1, part 1. So what we did is we split the animation takes so long that we're doing traditional 22-minute animated episodes. But we're chopping them in half, so the actual web series will be released 10 minutes at a time. So the first 10 minutes are up at the Kickstarter page right now. Getting good reviews.
Oh, good. So how many episodes do you have up currently then?
Well, what we did was we created when we first met you, we had a pilot. So we created a 15-minute pilot that kind of we used to figure out how we're going to do this. To figure out what because it's sort of ambitious to use animation, and there were a lot of like technical hiccups along the way. So the pilot, it's very funny and it still works. But when you watch the pilot and you see episode 1, part 1, back to back, you do see where we've grown a lot. So we have one episode.
Do we have the pilot up?
The pilot is up as well. It's available. Hopefully with this Kickstarter, what we're planning to do as part of the rewards is we're gonna release Game Nights episode 1, part 1, the first 10 minutes of the whole show. At the same time, we're gonna release a bloopers reel we've been working on. We're polishing up the pilot right now, so that when we release and give everybody a glimpse into what started it all, and it's also continuous. I mean, the pilot it happened, part of the story. It's just superfluous in some ways it's sort of like maybe a backstory, if you will. So the pilot's up, and then that's 15 minutes plus we have 10 minutes, so that's 25 minutes plus the blooper reel, and also we're doing a behind the scenes thing. And then our idea there is to finish the second half of episode 1, which is another full 10 minutes with half animation. It's already shot, so then we will deliver the second half of episode 1, part 1, and every pledge level gets a copy of the show, episode 1, part 1, 1080p, no DRM. Basically, the second half, we're working on it, but it's going to take a little while, and so we plan to deliver that, as sort of like a mid-campaign after we funded. Once we've polished it up, we'll deliver that, and then, when it comes to the next episode, it's written, and the one after that's written as well.
Oh, okay.
And like you said, it's like half animated. The fantasy scenes are animated. I'm kind of curious why. Well, you said a little bit why you did that, but I'm just curious what your animation background was beforehand, and like you said, it takes a while. How long does it take to do those?
Basically, what was your background, and did you think, oh, holy crap, what did we do?
Yeah. Well, I'm used to that. A lot of us stuff. I'm definitely, reach for the stars type of guy. And hey, we fall a little short. At least I definitely did better than I would have if I set my limit this high. So at the end of the day, the reason I chose animation is I went to school for computer animation and film. I went to International Fine Arts College in Miami. I've always been into animation and drawing and comic books and cartooning. And so there's definitely been, and with the computer animation I learned on Maya, but Maya is very complex, and it takes, 40 people to basically, make a blade of grass look amazing. I'm exaggerating there, but it's very hour intensive and stuff. And so, I kind of fall back into the 2D stuff. Then I started exploring, and I found this company called Toon Boom, and their product is amazing. It's called Harmony. So I licensed the product from them, and I've been working with them ever since. And Toon Boom is just such a great animation software that allows, less people to do more work. A lot of what we do is we create templates for all the different characters, front, back, and side, and then we have them with different clothes on, different hats on, different, with different arms, or
it's a lot of work. It's more work up front, and since we're building like puppets, dropping them in. But then the tricky part for the animation is making it look seamless and natural with the movements and everything else. So it's just like, I guess to answer your question on time, like how long it takes. The more we do it, the less time it takes, because, you start learning shortcuts and tricks, or your skill just increases. Oh, sure. But and I guess
the pilot took us 500 hours. So like
the pilot took forever because there's a lot of, combined hours between, him, me, this, that, whatever. But still, because it was the learning curve. And then once we got to episode 1, it's taken less time, but it's still, like, I'm not really sure, like, how many hours directly. But, okay, I guess there's a scene where one of our main characters, Frodo, jumps across a bar. And just the initial animation of that scene took 8 hours. And it's like a 10, 15-second thing. And then later we went back to tweak it. So, total, like, 10 hours maybe just for, like, 10 seconds. And it depends on the scene. Some scenes are faster, slower. So.
And also, though, the good news also is that, like, all the main characters have an animated counterpart on the show, and it's kind of it sort of becomes an avatar of what they want in real life. It could be a scrawny kid playing a barbarian. It could be all these juxtapositions. It could be a woman playing a man. It could be a man playing a woman. A lot of comedy there. But at the end of the day, like, when it comes to the animation, like, we have already rigged up all of the main characters from between the pilot and episode 1. So now most of the rigging when it comes to creating these templates or these puppets is new monsters that come out and new enemies or NPCs. So it's going to be, per episode, it's not going to be as laborious because we have a lot of, templates and materials in place, and we're ready to go for like a longer extended period of time. It's just getting the initial work done, it takes forever. But, and that's the other thing is, though, just because it takes forever doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. And this is supposed to, the fact that I chose animation is also to separate us from all the other shows, because there are plenty of other shows that don't do animation and do live action, and there's no reason for me to make another one. And also we have a comedic sense of humor since we do stand-up comedy, cartoon stand-up comedy. It kind of seems to.
Well, yeah, and the animation allows us to go further by telling certain jokes. Like if you're doing a live action version, like the joke might be too risque because it's live, real people. But since we're doing an animated version, like just because it's less real in a sense, we can go a lot further with the humor because it's animated, which is one thing we love to do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also like it's safer to drop an animated character off a cliff or something. Actors tend to frown on that.
Exactly. Well, here's the other thing is, honestly, when I look at our budget, I have more time than money.
Yeah.
So I'll spend the time animating than, budget on special effects to throw somebody off a cliff,
So let's talk a little bit about the cast of characters.
Hurling people off the cliff?
No.
Oh, no. The cast of characters.
and the actors.
No.
And the actors that play them. I mean, I remember the Game Master.
Is it Ray?
Yeah, Ray. Yeah. We met.
I met him. He and I were on the same panel at the Gen Con years ago.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He's like our Bill Murray. But, so the cast of, he has that weird sort of charisma that's awesome. But,
think of that.
But our cast is mostly stand-up comedians. With him being one of the exceptions of traditional actors. He's actually a dramatic actor, like kind of classically trained. He's doing a play out here in LA right now, actually, about D&D as well. So it's kind of like a theme actor.
Yeah, I was going to say he's more likely to break out into Shakespeare, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Which is perfect because as a game master, he's a theatrical, over the top. He's basically, his motivations are more like he wants followers, he wants subjects, he wants worshipers. He's a king, So he also wrote the foreword to the Beasties and Bygones main book. So he has a little bit of his character's stories are legendary.
Well, yeah, his character wrote that's one thing. It's like it's funny. It's like the characters are playing a character who's playing a character.
Like the actors, anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes the clarity is like, are we talking about the actor or the character the actor is playing, or the animated character that the actor is playing?
So the character that this actor plays wrote the foreword on the book that's used in the show. That is a prop.
Yes.
The characters
so he has,
make up their animated characters.
Exactly.
Totally got
and
it.
Yes, and that prop is what we're doing. We're turning into reality now with the Kickstarter we're running. The Beasties and Bygones prop. We're making the full, actual, real life RPG that you can role play.
Oh, fun!
So on the show, the show they play, the game. We don't get to highlight the world because it's so much work to give you 15 seconds of this world. And we've created such a rich world, to sort of mirror different kinds of, satire stuff and to parody things. And so we just started realizing, wow, how hard it is to get a glimpse of this world, on the show. And it's all about the characters. The game is more a representation of what the characters are going through often or to display more of their character or what they want in life. So it's more of a tool for storytelling. But now we're going to make the game like an actual playable game, so you can play your own over-the-top, South Parky, fantasy, raunchy, parody adventures. And to give you an example of the kind of adventures I'm talking about, because sometimes it's hard to get that message across, I'll give you one quick little story adventure that's coming up. It's being released on the Kickstarter page right now for Beasties and Bygones. It's called the Ivory Tower of Decency, and what it is the adventurers, they stumble into this town. And as they're talking to people and buying stuff and talking to merchants, they notice that, every fifth or sixth word is a beep. They're being bleeped, They just hear it. They can't hear it, So, and then the custom, basically the players, as they investigate more, they start noticing that everybody's ankles are blurred, the whole time. And so after even more investigation, they realize that this town is being run sort of like by these wizards in this tower because they're uptight about certain words. They cast a spell that's a censorship spell across the whole town. Even if you're at home alone with your wife, her ankles are blurred. Even if she, certain words, no matter where you are, they're bleeped. And so what happens is, those people start getting more uptight as they're visiting this town. and more words start getting bleeped, and more skin starts getting blurred until everybody's just about, a big blurry person bleeping at each other. That's all everybody just, unless the adventurers can help, figure out what's going on with it, try and help the town from coming under this rule from these, uptight, old, totalitarian wizards.
Well, you gotta be careful.
There's plenty.
Yeah, you never know what ankles will lead to. Well, I guess you do.
Sure, exactly. That's my point. And that's where we're trying to be silly, raunchy, over the top, edgy. They're really where are the role playing games evolved is my question. I mean, they're comedy ones anyway. These comedy role playing games. I mean, not to call names out, but for example, Hackmaster. Being stand-up comedians, what's the most important thing to me is funny. I don't care even if potentially I offend some people. As long as my intent is pure and funny and clever is important. I don't care. So we have stuff we have an adventure called The Temple of Excremental Evil. And, the adventurers kind of come across all these...
If it poops, it can die.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God.
I'm
going to be hearing this forever.
They're minions of Uranus, the god, of if you ask me, of fertility. I mean, excrement, it's everywhere. I mean, our plants grow out of it. Everything poops. I just talked about everybody poops. So this is the god of everybody pooping. And he has followers like the Dingle Fairies, there's instead of the beholder, how about the behinder?
Oh yeah, that's a good
one. It's a giant butt on stalks with other little butts, and you can imagine what comes out of them when it's attacking you. So, there's all toilet mimics. Each adventure is going to be trying to tackle one comedic, edgy and this is not the book of erotic fantasy for 3.5 OGL. We're not trying to be racy. There's not going to be pictures of cartoon boobs on it. This is just going to be irreverent comedy with few limits. We have a drug supplement where we're going to go into the effects of we're going to go into drug humor. We have we have plans for Beer and Loathing in the Labyrinth.
I don't know. I just was thinking about Mr. Hanky.
Exactly. That's why I say South Park. South Park, but they're making social commentary with Mr. Hanky. It's so funny,
Yeah.
That's my inspiration is, you can be funny, edgy, silly, over the top, and there's a market for it. Like right now, a lot of comedy RPGs out there, they're kid friendly.
It's funny, but it's funny in the sense of the humor is all about, meta humor about gaming, basically. Whereas
right. Yeah.
your humor, besides being edgy, is also something that everybody can kind of relate to. It just happens to be in a fantasy setting. It could be their very first game, really, and they would get the jokes, basically. Mm-hmm. So maybe
absolutely, yeah. So we're going to have conceptual jokes, but also, we're hopefully making some kind of point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
So for us, it's stand-up comedy, and also, and we're raising it for the Dungeon World and 3.5 OGL system. And I love Dungeon World because the rule system of Dungeon World is very narrative friendly. It's fast paced. There's things called moves, and moves are what you use to do anything. And it's all verbal, and it's perfect for storytelling, and it's perfect for joke writing. And so the moves are sort of set up, in my opinion, as sort of like the setup to punchlines. And then the players are going to come in. They're going to perform these moves, and then essentially there's a list of punchlines or create your own. And one of the classes that's coming out, we were working on it right before you called, and we're going to be releasing it very soon. Just want to make sure it's really ready. It's a jester class. In our world, jesters are kind of very important in the world of Beasties and Bygones. They're the stand-up comedians. They basically, instead of a scepter, like a jester, they have jester scepters, but in our world, they're called scepter phones. And they amplify, his jokes. So, and it's sort of like a target area of effect when he tells jokes. Whoever's in his potential audience, say 20, 30 feet, but he has a scepter phone, it can be 40 feet. He'll tell jokes, and whoever laughs is affected by this quote-unquote spells, And then there's going to be just a lot of built-in setups for people to, we have a joke, we have a move for the jester called a routine. So where basically, he starts saying who's on first, and then the monsters can't help themselves if they feel, if they get affected by it, they start the routine with
what's on second. I don't know, it's on third.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or another kind of routine, just a long bit, And so, we're just trying to create, comedy role playing with no limits. Maybe it's just for one game. Maybe just maybe, and also we're creating so maybe your characters get sucked into this crazy world for one episode or one adventure, and then they wake up and that was just a dream.
They end up in like the Vitamin the Vegemin world.
Yeah, exactly. Bizarro.
Vitamin the Vegemin.
The classic.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah, our front right now is twofold. The Kickstarter, you can check out Game Nights Episode 1, Part 1. You can read about Beasties Bygones, the world, including the history of how it was created, which is basically some mythological creature junkie read some crazy spell before the Age of Reason happened, and cloned Earth. And when he cast his spell, all the magical mythical creatures that were dying anyway because man was believing more in science got sucked into this world. And so now all the creatures in there are all old mythical creatures from different lands. So the world is just like Earth, except Middle Ages Earth. So there is a China, but now those Chinese dragons of myth, they're not myths, And often though, when the spell was cast, something happened, and this dark we call taint, the taint, affected it, and it tainted everything. So a unicorn, got sucked into this world, but it became a binacorn.
No.
2 horns and no limits. And the chupacabra, got and the Sasquatch got mixed in accidentally. Now we have a Chupa Sasquatch.
Ooh, that could just go horribly wrong.
Exactly. Well, and that's the idea. Is we understand we're going to piss some people off, and we're going to be, but the bottom line is like, we're used to it, and as long as you have a select few people who.
Like if you had a chupacabra and that's the size of a Sasquatch, whoo!
Yeah.
You're in for trouble.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can only imagine.
Have you seen either one?
We have 3 quarterlings. Those are halflings that grew a little taller, and they look down on the other halflings.
That's funny.
It's just like the whole world is just we have gods. Our gods are basically Aphrodite. When she was sucked into the world, she became hermaphrodite. she's the god of sexual ambiguity now. She is the god of sexual. We have a god called Penator, and he's a male ego, male sexuality. We have gods. We have excremental gods, brown ones, green ones, gaseous excrementals. So we just went through all kinds of mythologies and just started parodying and riffing, and it's kind of what we've been doing forever. Whether it's for stand-up comedy or even in our games. I remember when I was a kid and I was, running games, I would take them so seriously. And then my group just happened to be the type that would just come up with the craziest things. Like, I want to play a talking chicken from that show Mighty Max, or, I'm like, this is a race game. Like, this is supposed to be a pathos and death. And, so, and in the middle of trying to save the king, the characters would just go take a pee in the corner or something. It would kill us. So, I ended up I was like, I'm going to stop trying to fight this. This is just people want to sometimes let loose.
Give in to the madness.
Go crazy.
Well, one of my favorite characters, I had Suki the gun bunny. She was a gun bunny, but she was a bunny, and so she was like about 4.5 feet tall and calico, but instead of traditional calico, she was that pink camouflage, just like that tacky pink camouflage you see, and then. And so she was lop-eared, but she would wrap her ears up in the old, like the Japanese, where it would stick straight up on top of her head, and had a samurai sword and like a machine gun with like the Rambo bullet things across her. And because they were like, a gun bunny's not really a bunny. I'm like, I know, but mine is totally going to be a bunny.
Exactly.
Then a couple years later, we go and we adopt this rabbit from the Humane Society, and she's black and white now, but at the time she was calico, and I'm like, Suki, Suki, the gun bunny. So yeah, the craziest ones are usually the most fun.
Obviously, 3.5 because Pathfinder and Dungeons Dragons and such, but I'm not as familiar with Dungeon World rule system. Another rule system, if you decide to ever expand, you might want to check out, which maybe Rory thought of, the Fate game system.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we are. It's even on the page there. It says, we plan on expanding out, because what we're making here is a campaign source book. We're going to make one for 3.5 and one for a Dungeon World. And so it's going to have the basic rules in there, because we're allowed to with the OGL, and we're allowed to with the Creative Commons, thanks to those awesome publishers and stuff. But we're just going to have enough for people to play it, maybe, not get too deep into the rules, and just kind of the basic mechanics to play, because, people already have the rule books.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is mostly about the source material. And so, yeah, we're definitely planning on expanding to Fate. It's just, we're trying to keep 3.5 and Dungeon World were a choice because, there's a good following for both. And then also, 3.5 is a crunchy system, and Dungeon World is more like Fate, which is more story-based. And so
I love
was like, all right, well, yeah, me too. But a lot of people do love the 3.5. And so, this way we can tackle a crunchy system and tackle, a story-based one. And then hopefully maybe, if we unlock stretch goals or if we overfund or something, we'll definitely, jump into Fate just to manage our workload here. We're planning on also, maybe doing Fifth as soon as the OGL is ready. And so when it comes to the crunchy versions of this game, in the crunchy version of D&D, like 2.5 or 2.75 or any of these, there's a lot more charts, which is great because there's a lot more opportunities for comedy in charts. And so we were just going to get more meta. And in Dungeon World, we're going to concentrate, and that's why we're tackling Dungeon World first, so we can get conceptually the characters and creatures down, because Dungeon World does force you to sort of drill down what is the concept of, the essence of these characters, races, monsters, creatures, whatever. And then 3.5, we can get really granular and really, dive deeper into, making it, more
accurate
more
stats
of a,
or
or more, I guess, more, just more. Story based. Story based leaves a lot to your imagination. Yeah, more.
Like, here, like an example, for the gaseous excremental, how many spaces does it take up on the map? And the area of effect of its, it's more detail oriented like that, which is cool. We love both systems. It's like I love rules and detail, but I also love concepts. So it's kind of interesting when we're going over making it for the various systems, because it's like, wow, and then the other neat thing I love about making it not just for one rule system is that sometimes we get inspired to invent a new sub rule that we can then apply to all the systems from using a certain system. So then it's kind of it's one of those, the sum of its, the end result is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right.
So that's neat.
So yeah, and in short, we have plans for other rule systems, but just to make sure we deliver a quality product by the time that we say we're going to, or as close to as we can, and and to really sort of define the world in every part of it. We're going to try and tackle 2 for now, and then Fate is definitely, it was my third one. If we were going to do 3, it would have definitely been Fate. And I love Fate too. It's just that Dungeon World's already a fantasy world.
Yeah.
True.
So, and so is D&D 3.5. So, it just seemed natural.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we did mention also that you have a Kickstarter campaign going. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
What's some of the rewards you like to highlight for that Kickstarter?
Great. Okay, cool. Well, the ones I'd like to highlight are, there's a $22 pledge right now, the early bird adventure level it's called. And it's the regular pledge is $25, but you could save $3, and there's 92 right now left. So plenty of opportunity to save $3 there. But at that level, you'll get basically all the PDFs for both systems.
Mm-hmm. And that's the core rule. It's the core rule book and an adventure bundle that we're doing.
Right, an adventure bundle that currently has adventures that we've already talked about, which are like the Temple of Excremental Evil, Beer and Loathing in the Labyrinth, the Porcelain the Porcelain Pantheon, the supplement of the Isolation of Clog, and Seasonal Scourge of Sinterklaas. The seasonal Santa Claus, evil Santa Claus, monster, and the Tower of Decency, the Ivory Tower of Decency, which is the adventure built into the campaign source book. So you'll get that for $22. You'll get all of the PDF, plus all of the game nights, episode 1, the pilot, the bloopers reel, and behind the scenes footage for $22, and then eventually $25 if we run out of those early birds. And then there's also, lastly, if you want a print copy of one of the campaign books, and then all the PDFs for that specific system, $32, and you can get an OGL 3.5 or Dungeon World print-on-demand copy. Everything here, I'm also giving away, special thanks credit, because we wouldn't be able to. A traditional publishing company would never make this game. It's going to be way too, too edgy or raunchy, or so we call it raunchy comedy role-playing. Then there's $50 level, which gives you one print copy of either 3.5 or Dungeon World, and all the PDFs for both systems. But for a limited time, I opened up a $70 pledge level that'll get you, basically we call it the hoarder level. It'll get you a print copy of both and PDFs for everything, including coupons to get them from Drive-Thru RPG at close to cost as possible. So for $70, you can pretty much, there's a limited amount of those available because shipping 2 books, and this being our first Kickstarter, we're trying to keep it as streamlined as possible, but at the same time, we had requests say, I want a print copy of both. So to mitigate that, we have a limited amount of them, but we'll open up more as people are interested. So $70 gets you everything, 22 everything PDF, 32 one print, everything PDF.
Nice.
Great.
Plus all the game night stuff.
Oh, and actually, if you don't mind me chiming in with this, if you're going to Gen Con this year, we do have a couple pledge levels because we're shooting a pickup scene for to put in the episode. So basically, there's a couple pledge levels there that you can actually be in the show. And it's a high level pledge. It's like a vanity pledge, and you also get all the books or whatever it says. But
yeah, and even if you want to be a character on the show, we have animation pledge levels. Send us the MP3 files of what we need your character to say. We'll have one of the monsters or NPC animated characters on the show say it. I don't believe that. I think that's about $100.
Oh, fun!
So we have a lot of fun little pledges in there as well.
That's cool. So the Kickstarter, when's it end?
It ends April 15th, tax day.
Ah, good date. People will remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. So just like normally, the world ends April 15th. And then also the Kickstarter is up there. Just look for Beasties and Bygones.
Mm-hmm. Well, good luck, guys. I do want to talk a little bit more about the show real quick because I like to ask sometimes if there's any funny stories on set that happen. And usually if you have a comedy, and especially if you have comedians on board.
These guys seem pretty straight-laced and buttoned up. There might not be anything
funny. Oh, man.
They have been so serious through this whole interview.
Is there any funny stories I can think of?
One time somebody stepped on my foot. I'm kidding. No, I mean, well, yeah, there's plenty of definitely, but the one that pops to my head right away was, we were shooting the pilot at one of my friend's houses, and in the background we hear nonstop beeping. I mean, honking like a horn in the middle of all of our scenes. I mean, nonstop, just and as you know in film, like there's only so much you can control sound.
Yeah.
So I only have so much time at my friend's house, before I have to go, and a lot of these scenes happen around a table in the same place. So I kind of need that space for as long as I can get, and all the actors in the same place, which is kind of nice on that show. Helps with scheduling and budgeting. Mm-hmm. But, in this particular case, it turned out this woman, in the building next door locked herself inside her own parking garage, and just sat there honking like forever until one of our PAs ran across the street and went up into her house and got her keys and
how do you lock yourself in a garage?
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
Door opener, or she can't just pull it open, or
no.
Wait.
The way I'm like, wasn't it like someone had spent the night at someone else's house, like
Oh yeah.
Like maybe they met at a club. I think that's what it was. And it was the person. Yeah. The memory's like flooding back. Yeah. So, and I don't remember if we figured this out through hearing little bits or whatever, but what it seemed to be is, this person spent the night at someone else's apartment, having fun, and in the morning the other person had left, but then this person couldn't get out because it wasn't their place.
Oh.
That's what I think happened. They were trapped in. They couldn't open the gate to leave. So then it was
right, and we're sitting there. We're sitting there with like.
Found a way to get the gate open or something, or like.
I think it's those censorship.
Yeah, so
wizards.
That was a good deed as well.
Premarital sex. Curse your mind. Mind befuddled.
Yeah.
Maybe they were married, but just to other people.
Yeah.
You don't know.
That was a good deed. The only time I do good deeds is when I have to get what I need to get done to complete my schedule.
Karma.
Right. Yeah. I mean, who cares the reason why? But I mean, we had a bunch of other stories like that, but that one was kind of nuts because we're in the middle of shooting and the actors are really getting into it, and all of a sudden, there's no way to get rid of that noise, and we were like, okay, we'll wait. It was not ending. What is going on here? So it was one of those. we have some behind the scenes footage, blooper reel stuff that's going to be out also. That a lot of this stuff, we have no shame. We're comedians. So, only a handful of people, including Nathan Hurd, by the way, who's an actor, and he's a comedian and actor. He's our main star. He plays Afrodo. He's the three-quarterling who has an afro. He's a black one. They're black, three-quarterlings, and he has an afro, and he keeps his arrows in his hair.
There's quiver.
But the actor who plays Nathan he's very talented, and he was on American Horror Story. He was one of the albino guys who burned the witch at the stake.
Oh, okay.
If you watched that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely out here doing his thing, doing stand-up comedy, really funny, also acting. But in general, I'm saying none of us have much shame. So, our blooper reel, we're going to show you the worst of the worst. Like, I don't care. It's funny.
If I could also, I just want to spoil one of the things I can't wait to put in the blooper reel. In the scene in episode 1, part 1, there's a scene where actually Javi's character talks about his character's seed, like as in like he was a father, and he just kept on but the problem is we had to do several takes because by accident he kept on saying semen instead of seed. So I can't wait to just put all those together back to back in that blooper reel. And
yeah.
It was
well, what it
it was
is
great.
When I said that, my character was having my character's sort of fighting with the Bill Murray character, Ray's character, the other game master. We're fighting for players, but also the attentions of this woman that we both like. And so we're arguing about who she's playing in both of our games. So we're arguing about how, whose game lasts longer, of course, like the sex joke. And, she plays in my game. She plays in my game too. And then as I'm leaving, storming out because she seems to be flirting with him, I'm like, you know what? In the game, we're married. In the game, we have a baby. It's my character's seed. And then I bust out of the room.
I think your blooper reel should have 2 versions, uncensored and then the censored by the wizards version.
The beep.
And you just have random beeps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have random beeps and blurred ankles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then have a wizard at the end, wink at you.
Yeah.
Saving the world one ankle at a time.
All right, well, great, guys.
Say, women with cankles, though, would be very grateful for the blurring. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's true.
You're assuming that we want to show our ankle.
We are
well, then maybe there's a personal spell. Sure. In this little town, cankles should be an honor.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you guys. Before we go, can you tell everyone where they can find your Kickstarter and also where they can find you guys and your show? You can find our Kickstarter. If you go to Beasties and Bygones, do a search on under tabletop games. You can see our show. It's at criticalhitmedia.com. That's our company name. And you can follow me on Twitter at directedbyme. And also we have Facebook groups for Critical Hit Media and game nights. And so, how about you, Ed? Anything? Yeah, it kind of covers it all, I think. Smoke signals, if you want to get a hold of Ed.
Okay, I'm not sure you can see him from here.
Oh, well. And that's about it. So,
I got LA smog.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Javier, and we're glad you could join us too, Ed. It was great.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Ben Dobbins from Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, and you are listening to GenreTainment.
Well, big thanks to Javier and Ed for chatting with us. Now, coming up on our upcoming episodes, we will have author and professor Tim Wagner as a guest. He's published numerous novels, 3 short story collections, and has over 100 published stories in the fantasy, horror, and thriller genres. So needless to say, we have a detailed discussion about his books and writing. We'll also be speaking with professional actor Michael Laskin about his 35 years working in film, television, theater, and voiceovers. He is also the author of the new book, The Authentic Actor, The Art and Business of Being Yourself. And we have more web series fun coming up with our interview with Britton Valenti, the creator of the sci-fi web series Interrogation. So keep an eye open, or an ear open for those episodes and many more. We want to remind you that you can keep track of us on our GenreTainment Facebook page, Marx's Twitter account, which is at Mr. Marx, our website at GenreTainment.com, or all of the shows at SciFiPulseRadio.com.
So that's it for today's GenreTainment. We'll be back soon with all new guests from our favorite films, TV shows, novels, and web series.
GenreTainment is a production of Alien Jugglebug Productions.
Until next time.
Bad monkey.